Alright, picture this. It's 3 a.m., you're binge watching your favorite anime, and bam, there it is. The night sky. Not just any night sky, a drop dead gorgeous sky. Stars so bright they could blind you, colors that look like they're straight out of a dream, and you're thinking, how the heck they pulled that off? Let's find out. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to recreate the sky in Blender. Not just any sky, a sky so crazy good. It'll make your renders look like the next big anime hit. Get ready to learn the secret behind those magical stars, jaw-dropping colors, and yeah, maybe blow a few minds while we're at it. Let's jump in. And here is the blend file, guys. As you can see, it's totally animated, okay? And let's play and see it together. As you can see, we have some subtle, movement for the trees, and also that thing that's going down, which is actually a star. Let's see it again and see. Okay, as you can see, the movement, just a simple rotation and location. It's not that much, okay? And also a track to constraint, so it's tracking to the camera view. So it's always watching the camera. So, and the basic idea for that clouds, I took the idea from a YouTube video that I watched back in the day. I believe it was Christoph tutorial about making skies, anime skies, kind of stylized skies. I will link that video in the description if you want to see it too. But I will cover this portion in this video, so don't worry about it. And also, for the full sky that you can see here, it's in the world settings. So yeah, it's based on the world, so don't worry. And if you see this thing black stuff, it's about the compositor. I'm going to fix it right now, so don't worry about that. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, this is the full scene, and we are going to recreate it, and it is procedural. And to show you the node setup, okay, just to go here, switch to shader editor. This is just for something. Let's go to the world. Okay, at the first glance, you will see that's too much nodes, but actually they are so simple, and I'm going to explain to you how to work with the mix RGB nodes or the mix color nodes. Okay, it was mix RGB. Okay, I will show you how to work with them, and this idea will apply it. You will apply it to other stuff that you will make in the future. So yeah, don't worry. And by the way, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And yeah, you can join me over on my Patreon to get full access to other courses and in-depth tutorials as well, and project files. Like the project file of this video, you'll find it in the link in the description. Okay? And now let's jump into a fresh Blender scene so we can start. First, delete everything. And you can expand this window and switch it to the shader editor, and switch it from object to the world. By default, you will see something else rather than this node group. And if you don't have this node group, okay, we are going to recreate it right now. So it's basically made of just the group output. Yeah, the world output, not group output. Okay, and two basic background nodes. So the first background node is gonna be for the lighting, so we can light our objects. And the second one, it's just gonna be a background, so it's not gonna emit any light. It's just gonna be in the background, so it's not affecting the objects. And that's what we need. So now we need to mix these together with a mix shader node and plug this to the surface. Right now, nothing is happening. We need a light path node, so we can tell Blender what thing to use. So I'm going to use is camera ray as a factor for that. Now let's put an object, for instance, let's use a monkey, and let's switch to the render preview. Make sure you don't have any compositing. As you can see, because they are both sets their strength to 1 and their color to white, so they're looking exactly the same. But if I turned one of them to black, you will see. This first one is affecting the lighting of our 3D objects, but the other one is just a background, so it's not emitting any light. So we are going to use this one for lighting our objects, or we don't, so we can create our lights ourselves with the lights, or we can use this one. For now, we have the group ready for us, so this is basically what this group is, and we can just select all of them and Control G so we can group them, and then you can put these parameters into here. And as you can see, we have the same node setup. So basically just need to adjust their names and voila, you're done. First of all, I'm going to start by making these small stars. To make them, I'm just going to add a Voronoi texture, add to it a texture coordinate and mapping nodes, and I'm going to use the object coordinates. I know we don't have any object, but I'll just use it. If you plug this distance into the background, as you can see, this is what we are going to see. Now let's add a color ramp, and if we play with these stops, we can get results like this, but we can invert it by flipping the color ramp. As you can see, we have something like this. We can either just move these outside, so we have this not merging. Okay, something like this. But right now they are too big. To make them small, we can play with this scale, and I'm going to plug it into a value node because I'm going to use it later on, and you can increase this value. As you can see, you have a lot of points, and to prevent some of these points to go over each other's, we are going to copy the same setup here. Okay, just this Voronoi, and also I'm going to use this as a vector, and I'm going to use this as a scale, and I'm going to add a matte node, so just we can offset it a little bit by a small amount, like 0.04. Okay, and I'm going to use a mix color node to subtract this one from this one if there is something over something, or a point over a point. Switch it from mix to subtract, and increase this factor to something like 0.8 or something, and you might see this result. Don't worry, just move these sliders. As you can see, we have few of these. Right, you can group these by pressing Ctrl J, so you can add them to a group or a frame. And now I want the stars to be over the horizon, so they are not going down. So yeah, to do that, I'm just going to create a gradient texture, or I'm going to use the texture coordinate because I already have it, and the separate XYZ node. I'm going to plug the object into the vector, and I'm going to preview the Z coordinate. This is what I want. Just to make this gradient smooth, I'm going to introduce a color ramp and switch it from linear to B-spline. And you can play with these stops until it's like smooth. And just to move it down, I'm going to add a matte node, and you can play with this value. Right now I'm going to multiply this over this, so we have only the stars in the top. Let's add a mix color node. I'm going to switch it from mix to multiply. Set the factor to 1, and as you can see, this is the result. If you see that it's too much, you can play with these stops if you like, but I see it's really good, and this is what I want. If you see that they are dim, you can increase the background strength, so you can have something like this. We'll get that at the end. Let's name this mask by add it to a frame, and F2, name it mask or gradient mask, because we are going to use it a lot in this video. You can increase the label size so you can see it from afar. This one's gonna be stars. Increase their label. And right now I want to recreate this thing that I have no name for that, so I'm showing it to you guys. You can make it by introducing a gradient texture and add to it texture coordinate and mapping, and let's use the object coordinate. And I'm going to switch it from linear to quadratic sphere or either spherical. And to view it, Ctrl Shift and left click so you can plug it into a viewer node. But right now we can see nothing because this is in 3D space, so we need to move it with these location values. So as you can see, when I move the X, I can see it's moving. So right now pick a position so you can add the camera, and from that camera angle we can play with this this gradient. For instance, I'm going to use like low focal length, so it's wide angle. And from this angle, I can play with this. And I can play with the Y value, maybe like these values, and you can just stretch it, kind of, to something like this, you know. And you can play with the Z location, so you can move it up, kind of like this. You can make it thick, wide, something, you know. It's up to you. And between these coordinates, I'm going to use a noise texture so I can distort it a little bit. And let's add a mix color node. Add it between the object coordinates and the mapping node. And you can plug this factor into the B color. And actually you can use the object coordinates in the vector here. And you can play with this factor, something like this. Yeah, maybe something like this. You can play here with the details if you want to make it detailed. Roughness as well. It's up to you. And after some settings, I ended up with these locations, and I rotate it on the Z axis by 45 degrees and scaled it on the X, so it's like narrow, kind of. And yeah, that's it. And for the mix color, this is the factor, noise, scale, and details. Yeah, something subtle, you know. And here, I can add a color ramp, so we can tweak the colors and tweak it a little bit. I can just make it sound like this. You can make it actually B-spline, so it's smooth, kind of. You can introduce new stops if you like. Maybe just move this here, move this one here, kind of. Create a new one. Create another one. Move it there, so yeah. And for the color, I'm going to use this color, kind of. This is the hex value for that color, 1C6340. And for the other ones, they are going to use the same color. It's kind of dark. Let's use this color. Maybe this one's gonna increase their kind of strength. These kind of go dark. Maybe this one's I'm gonna remove it. Just leave it as is. Who cares? Just leave it black for now. Just move them out of the way. And yeah, this is the basic idea of that thing. You can play with it more and more. You can add actually a hue saturation value to increase the saturation or decrease it. You can play with the hue so you can have more colors, you know. Any color that you like. You can hold shift so you can move through the colors. As you can see, pick the color that you like. Increase the saturation or decrease it. You can increase the value for the lightness. Something like this. And you have the factor that nobody cared about. After creating that, I want to create some haziness, like hazy, foggy, something. You know, foggy sky, kind of. So I'm going to use a noise texture for that. Texture coordinate and mapping is, you know, obligatory. And let's see it. Control Shift and left click so you can see that. Preview it, kind of. Let's add a color ramp. And actually, I'm going to use this same color that I've used here. Okay. Or I can use like a bluish tone, kind of. We can move it to the blue tones. Let's go to the hue. And change it to something like this. Increase the hue. And I'm going to play here with kind of the detail and also the roughness. Something like this. Okay. And after all, after I create everything that I need, I can blend them together. Okay. Just wait for the part that I'm going to blend. And the kind of the final one is to create a moon. And the moon is basically a gradient texture. Okay, so it's spherical again. It's the same idea as this thing that I've created, but it's more simpler. Control T to add mapping, texture coordinates, object, and switch it to spherical. And let's preview that. Now let's go to the camera view so we can view everything from the camera. Okay, just play with the X location and the Y also. And you can play with the Z value. Play with the X. Okay, this is too much. Something like this. Increase this. So you can move it kind of like so. Move it up and decrease this value. Maybe in this point, kind of. And as you can see, it's not strong enough. We can make it strong by adding a matte node sets to multiply, so we can, you know, make it powerful. Let's make it multiply. and you can increase its value. And as well, you can use color ramp, so you can color it and give it some colors. And actually, you can make it B-spline, so it's smooth in the edges, like this. Decrease the multiply because it's too strong, kind of. Okay, maybe something like this. Make this like going toward the bluish tones, kind of. Okay, make it strong again. Maybe something like this. Okay, so it's like moon. Yeah, and now we can blend these together. So let's see this thing. This thing has the light, so it's okay. Where is the oh my god, I need to play with it again. Just to move it, kind of something like this, you know. Just move it. Okay, I did some movement, kind of. Okay, anyways, let's say this is kind of bright. Okay, because it's bright, I'm going to use something that's gonna blend the bright parts correctly, which is the add or either screen or color dodge or lighten. One of them is gonna work because they are working with light portions or light values. And let's put this color into the B color. And now let's remove this. Let's see. Okay, it's gonna work. Make sure it sets to either one of these. So let's start with lighten. Okay, let's try lighten for now. And as you can see, it's working. You need just to increase this factor, so it's up to 100. Okay, it's good. And I can see no difference between these at all. Maybe the color dodge is too intensive for the effect. And yeah, just leave it as add. And for this one, also, I'm going to use the same combination, which is add and also plug this factor or color, sorry, to here. Okay, now we have too many of this haziness, so let's decrease this value for this factor. Okay, something like this. And to prevent it also from going, you know, inward, let's do a mask using our mask. Okay, I'm going to select the mask with its all stuff. Let's shift D that. And I'm going to add here a mix color node, and I'm going to switch it to multiply and factor sets to 1 and add it here. And this one's gonna be for the B color. And let's see it now in full screen. As you can see, it is working right now. Later on, I'm going to organize everything so you can group them. But anyways, now we have the moon. So the moon is also the same setup. Add factor sets to 1 because it's too bright. And plug it to the B color. So the moon is kind of too close to this one. So I'm going just to play with its locations. Okay, just something like this. You can make it small if you like by just removing a number, kind of. Okay, yeah, something like this. Move it again. Hold shift so you can move it precisely, kind of. And I like it to be at this point, okay? So this is the values if you want to copy them. Later on, I'm going to go through every setup so I can show you the values that I've used. Okay, anyways, now I have this thing. Just to make it complete, I'm going to introduce new stars using Voronoi. And I'm going to switch it to this thing, main course key something. Texture coordinate and mapping, object. And for this exponent, let's leave it as 0.5 and let's view that. Let's introduce a color ramp and flip it. And you can play with this scale here. So we have this random stars, kind of. And you can just play with this color ramp stops. So they're not all the way like this. You can make them kind of big. Let's decrease this. So they are bigger than the stars that we have already. And I'm going to add them before everything. Let's add them here. Also, make them like this. This view right now. This. And as you can see, this is a good result. And also to prevent it from going inside, let's use the mask. Plug it to the B color. As you can see, it's working perfectly. You can play with the stops. Okay, pretty good. Pretty good, pretty good. I can go again to the stars here, and I can remove or play with their color a little bit, maybe blue, something like this, to break the color pattern, kind of. Also, I want them to be bright, and I can increase their value to something like the like 3, something like this, so they're bright. And also for that moon, brighter, brighter, and brighter. Oh yeah, the factor is kind of low here. No, it's 1. Let's switch it to lighten here. Yeah, lighting is gonna work. Perfect. Yeah, we have no transparency. And now it's the moment to create those clouds. So let's shift and add mesh and add UV sphere. Go to solid mode. Scale it up. So it's covering the camera. Okay. Go to the front view. Tap to go to edit mode. Shift Z. Delete the bottom half. Select all of these faces. X, delete faces. Or vertices, sorry. Right click and shade smooth. Okay. And let's switch from the world to object. Add new material. Call it clouds. So the clouds is basically made of, okay, first let's add an emission and also a transparent PSDF, or transparent, mixed together. We'll get to the shader to the surface. And also let's go to the material settings. Under the settings, blend mode, switch it to alpha blend. So we have transparency going on. Okay. Right now we need something to go to the factor, and that thing is gonna be a Voronoi. Okay. Also another Voronoi. And we need the texture coordinates and mapping. And we need the object coordinate to the vector, and the vector to the vector here, also to the other Voronoi. And we need to mix them both together with the mix color node, sets to mix, and distance to A color, distance to the B color. And you can plug this to the factor for the mix shader. I can move this to a side. Let's go back to render viewport so I can see better. I can play with this factor a little bit. I can play with the scale also. Maybe something small, kind of, also here. I can add a color ramp so I can play with it. Play with these stops, kind of. Okay, so like this. Can add a bit of details. Okay, start to shape. And you can add actually a texture, noise texture, if you wanna add some distortion without adding the details here. Can remove them. And I can add a mix color sets to soft light, and I can plug this to Also I can add to a texture coordinates and mapping node using the object coordinate. And here you can play with these sliders. Okay, so like this. That's pretty good. You can add another one, another thing, factor to B color. Also, you can play here with the details if you want. Okay, and now the magical effect is to go to the mapping, and you can play with this Z stretch here. So you can stretch it kind of. So we have these clouds going on like this. If you want them to go big, you can increase the scale. Okay, I like it to be this amount kind of. Okay, and to prevent them from going over each other's, you can play with this sliders here. Well, I like it to be something like this. Also, you can play again with these Voronois. So you can have different stuff. I like it to be like, if this 4, I want this to be lower by 1 maximum, or kind of something like this. So I can have like this result. And as Christoph suggested, is to exaggerate this by scaling this or stretching it in object mode, just to have this kind of. And you can go to edit mode and you can stretch this. Okay, so you can have like a bell shape kind of. That's what he said. And what he did again is just selected everything, Shift D, Back in the day, it was Musgrave texture. It's not noise texture, but I solved that issue with the noise texture. So hopeful. Musgrave, it was good, but I have no idea why they removed it. Now I'm going to clear this mapping node by pressing backspace, and I'm going to remove this texture coordinate, and instead I'm going to plug this mapping to this mapping. Okay. And right now I'm going to use this as an emission. Okay, and as you can see, this is what we get. Actually, we can flip this so we can get another result. Or just leave it as is. And now the plan is to play with this Z scale also. So you can move this like behind by a certain value, kind of like 1.0, kind of 3 or 4 or something like this. Okay, it's like good. You can play with these sliders. Okay, that's good. And you can introduce some colors. I'm going to add like this color here. Okay, this is the hex value for that color. I'm going to use another slider, which is gonna be the same color actually. Let me select colors. And it's gonna be desaturated and kind of toward blacks. For the lighter one, let's make this a little bit dark. For the lighter one, I'm going to use this value or this hex value. Okay, so we're getting something like this. And now you can go back and play with these level of details. You can increase this noise texture scale, okay, in the top here. You can increase its scale if you like, so get something like really high. You can do that for the other one also if you want, so you can get different results. So they are not like super realistic, kind of stylized, you know. You can go back to the camera view. You can actually play with this sphere so it's small, it's not that big. Okay, let's go to the camera view. We can make it big, but you can play with the node setup. Okay, you can do that here. If there's like 6, this is gonna be maybe 4. Okay, or maybe 5. Okay, so yeah, and you can also go again and tweak it. Okay, also if you use this scale here, copy it and use it in the bottom ones. Control V, and it's gonna be 5, I believe. Yep, 5. And this scale, again, play with it. Okay, or maybe it's too intensive, just 2. Okay, something like this. And also, if you played with this level of detail here, you can play with it right here. And also, you can just tweak this color ramp, kind of, so they're like so. So they're sharp, kind of. Also, you can play with the details here. Keep playing with these values. I found that 30 for the scale here for these noise textures is the best. And you can play with this thing that I can't pronounce, okay? Up here. Okay, just to give like some small shapes of these clouds, kind of like this. Actually, this one is gonna be bright, kind of. Okay, you can move this backward. This one also backwards, so they are gonna be kind of bright. Yeah, something like this. I'm going actually to limit this camera. Let's go to the camera settings. Let's go to the camera icon. Go to the viewport display. Passport 2 sets to 1, so we are not distracted, kind of. Okay, and this is depending on the level of details, so play with the scales here. Okay, and also with this value up here also. Okay, just play with them until you find something that looks good for you. Okay, I'm just holding shift and playing with values. Okay, and if you find this stretching is too much, you can just decrease it. Okay, but I like it to be like this. The scale also, you can play with it if you want a big clouds or something. Okay, it's up to you. You can make these clouds big if you like, you know. And after you're done with the shader, you can increase the emission strength so they are bright kind of. Okay, and to spice it up kind of a little bit, just I'm going to add a gradient so I can add a bottom color. Okay, and also I'm going to do that for the world, so it's like kind of a mess. So to do that, texture coordinate and separate XYZ node. Okay, separate XYZ and color ramp, and you can pick like this color kind of and put it into here. Okay, and I'm going to overlay this over these clouds. Let's switch this mix to overlay, and you can play with this value. Okay, something like this. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to copy this setup. Okay, actually everything. Control C. Let's go to the world. Control V this. And I'm going just to put this over here and put it into here. Give it a second to load. Actually, I can switch it to add. And I can add a matte node. Sets to add, so I can move it up and down. I can switch these colors, so yeah, they're flipped kind of. Yeah, so we have a bit of mist going on. Okay, I can go back to the object coordinate, or sorry, the object for the shading. Let's add a matte node here also. Also flip these colors. Okay, something like this. Play with the sliders a little bit, and voila. And it's up to you if you want them to be bright or dark, whatever. Just play with these blending modes until you are satisfied with the result. And now I'm just going to add my stuff like the trees and the mountain. Yeah, let's do that. For the mountain is actually made of just a plane, rotated down on the x-axis, scale that up, scale it up, scale it up, so it's gonna fit the scene. Move it like this, maybe scale it down, move it along the x-axis, and scale it again, rotate it towards the camera, move it down, scale it up, and go to edit mode, scale it on the z-axis, and move it up kind of. Okay, apply the scale for that, and you can add some loop cuts, increase that number to something like 30, and by selecting random vertices and proportional editing sets to either linear or sharp, and start by pulling these, and make sure you have this radius of influence to be super big kind of, and you can start by shaping these mountains. Okay, something like this. You can add to a subdivision surface to smooth it out kind of. Okay, ooh, I like it, I like it. And now you can add Shift A, add images as planes, and you can search for trees online, but I already have ones. Locate the image and then import it. It will be small, so scale it up, go out of the camera, scale that up. Okay, just move it toward your thing, kind of. Okay, it's kind of big right now. Make sure it's not inverted. And because we don't have any lights, it's gonna look good straight out of the camera view. Just duplicate it, rotate it on z-axis by 120, so it's random kind of. So it's not covering the moon because we need it, we want it. Okay. And this is gonna be the basic idea. And if you wanna watch how I'm going to animate these trees and also animate the star that's gonna go down, and also to composite it to look good kind of, you can watch this full in-depth tutorial on my Patreon. I will link it in the description.